There's a young cotton mill worker down in South Carolina. He had a sweet wife and a little baby. One day, on a Saturday morning, he went to town and got drunk, as he usually did on the weekend. His wife and little baby and their neighbor was sitting on the front porch talking. It was a beautiful Saturday morning. They saw him come up the street. He was staggering. She said, "You better leave. He's drunk." The neighbor left and went to her house. When he come up there, he was staggering around, and he's beginning to cuss and scream curse words at his wife. She took the baby and run in the house. He was fussing because supper wasn't ready. He came in and chased the wife through the house under the influence of our public enemy, number one. He picked up a piece of stove wood off the hearth and hit his wife in the head, knocked her down, knocked the baby out of her hand. He picked up that little baby under the influence of the demon of drink and took a butcher knife and sawed that baby's head off of its body. They said that man's handprint was down in the head of that little bloody head of that little baby. They began to scream, and the next day he was in jail. He sobered up and he couldn't believe what he had done. That's what they advertise on TV as cool and great and glamorous. Illustration number 2. A 12-year-old boy came home one day and found his drunk father trying to choke his mother. The young man grabbed a double-barrel shotgun and loaded it and blew his daddy's brains out and scattered them on the floor. I know a young man that happened to personally, and I went to school with. Why don't they make a commercial out of that? Why don't they show that right in the halftime at the football game of that young man, his daddy's blood and brains across the hall? Listen, they talk about drugs like that's the worst thing in the world, but for every drug addict we've got 10 alcoholics. And you say they put drugs on TV and they talk about say no to drugs, and all of that's bad and wicked, and I preach about all of that. But I'm going to tell you something. You know why they don't talk about alcohol on TV? Because the government gets the money from alcohol and the pusher gets the money off of drugs. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a scourge that's ruining our world today. Illustration number 3. A man has been drunk several days. He's fussing and cussing with his family. He picks up the baby of the family, slings it through a plate glass window. You say, how could a man do something like that? Under the influence of alcohol. It's all the mom could stand. She grabbed a pistol and shot him 6 times. He lay there in the floor, lifeless, as a result of our public enemy number 1. Illustration number 4. There's a businessman who drank heavily. It takes years for alcohol to get you. First time cocaine, you're an addict. First time meth, you're an addict. But you know why alcohol's worse? Because little by little you think it ain't bothering you. Little by little you do it every weekend. And the first thing you know, it's got its claws wrapped around your life in such a way that you can't never, ever, ever get loose. And that man began to cuss, and he died in delirium tremors. And a nurse standing by his bedside, she said, I never ever want to see a man die who's been under the influence of alcohol. She said he was screaming. She said his bed was full of snakes, and the devil was coming in his room. His eyes turned green, and then he died and went into eternity into hell.